Hey, everybody, this is Mike Feldbauer coming to you from the Road to Recovery podcast, and we're coming from Flagler Voice, the podcast studio of Flagler County. Today, I have a very special guest in the studio with us today, who has a long time history of both dealing with and winning, and on his road to recovery, and we're going to want to hear a lot about that. So let me introduce you to my guest. His name is Robert. Robert, they got you on the camera now. They're seeing who you are. We welcome you to our Road to Recovery podcast. Robert was referred to me by one of the people that are in the drug court program who got to meet Robert. I don't know if she met him at a meeting or wherever, but she said, I know somebody who really would be a great guest for you because of his story. And so she gave me Robert's contact information. We tried to talk last Friday when we were doing first Friday down at Flagler Beach, but there was so much noise we couldn't. That wasn't it. So we got to have it. And he said, "Yeah, I'd love to come and join you." So here it is, Robert. Let's talk a little bit about your story, where you've been, and where you are.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's first of all, it's a pleasure. I hope we have as much fun in this next half hour as we've had in leading up to this opportunity today. So thank you for having me on your show.
Excellent.
And we seem to be in great alignment in terms of what getting well is all about. Even though my primary addiction was alcohol, there were so many things, Mike, that kept me from becoming who I wanted to become. When you drink from the age of 14 because you just don't think you fit to the age of 32, you just get lost along the way through failed relationships, failed jobs. Everything that I ever wanted to be, I failed at. And alcohol was my medication against feeling that. Father Martin, who does Chalk Talk, and you can find him on YouTube, I listen to him on a regular basis, he said alcohol would put to sleep that which would make me feel uncomfortable. And my entire life made me feel uncomfortable. I became a person who was so chameleon. I was trying to please every different person on a different level. And Mike, that was exhausting. And so alcohol provided the relief. But over a period of time, Mike, alcohol wasn't enough. I had to find other people, places, and things, and substances and behaviors that would fill in the gaps for where alcohol left off. Does that make sense?
It does. Again, you and I talked previous, part of what we do here on the Road to Recovery is give information out to our community so they have a better understanding of what addictions are. Yeah. And it's not choices that people make, okay? In the 12 years I've been doing this part of this, I've never met one person that decided they wanted to become an addict to whether it was drugs or alcohol. Okay, it was usually, like you're saying, covering up something, filling in for something that was missing, covering up the pain, all this other kind of stuff. And people have to understand that, at least the ones that I've talked to, and the 12 years I've been working with the drug court program, over 90% of the people that we have coming into these programs have had trauma of some sort in their life. And what you're explaining to us is your early life trauma, okay? The failures created more failures, created this, and that's exactly what it's all about.
You know, you bring up something very interesting because I have the phenomenon of craving, which predisposes me to enjoying alcohol more than the average person will. And one thing, Mike, alcohol was not the problem. If alcohol was the problem, then everyone who drinks would be alcoholic. And that's not true. It's the alcoholism. And I tell people the first time I drank was to get away with something. The second time I drank is because I remembered what alcohol did the first time. It put to sleep, like Father Martin says, it put to sleep the things that would make me feel uncomfortable. So anytime I got uncomfortable, I would drink. But that, like I said, that was not why I drank. I drank more because I felt uncomfortable. And drinking was just, when again, was a substance that put to sleep. And I found this out when I got sober back in 1986. I've been at this for over 39 years of personal recovery. And in that time, I found that alcohol was not the problem. I'm the problem. I don't know how to go through life. And so I had to figure out a way, once the alcohol was put aside, how do I learn how to live? How do I learn how to reinvent myself with that would have a meaningful contribution? And I went through 2 marriages. I walked out on my children. I did all the things that people like me do along the way. But you know what now, Michael? I've been married over 36 years to the same girl. I've become successful in ways. I'm retired now. I live in Palm Coast compared to Salt Lake City. So everywhere I've improved my situation of life not because I've decided not to drink, but because I've decided to work on me from the inside out, that has caused me to become well and crave wellness.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm hearing again from you and the discoveries that you were making along the line to help you get to that point where recovery was not only a desire, but was starting to become a fact.
Yeah, I discovered that not drinking was just the beginning. It was just the baseline for me to get well. You can't, one of the traditions in the program I'm involved with is the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. Well, people often confuse not drinking with sobriety, but they also, what's even more serious, Mike, is they confuse sobriety with recovery. Recovery is a whole nother level of living. And whether you're a monotheistic person, whether you're a naturalist, whether you think the tide is your higher power, every path to wellness requires the same thing. It requires an admission that I'm not enough. It requires some aspect of believing that how I was living didn't make any sense at all, turning my will and my life over to care of something that's greater than me to give me hope. And I love how hope is the background, and I love how you showed me that, because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. And without faith, there is no hope. And I wanted hope because I became hopeless. And when I got sober was the opening of the door for me discovering hope. And little by little, almost incrementally, I became hopeful in areas. I first became employable and I got a job, and then I kept a job, and then they wanted me to come back, and I wasn't worried about Monday anymore, because Monday meant another opportunity to show who I could be once I decided to be something else. And little by little by little, I'm unstoppable because of what I believe and in the pursuit of that belief.
Well, just going back just a little bit in your conversation, the other thing that's important, you talked about hope and faith, okay? But faith without actions is nothing.
Yes.
We have to have that hope, which is the desire to accomplish what we can't see.
Yes.
Then we have to have the faith that we can. Then we have to have the understanding of what we need to do.
Yes.
And that's the series of things that eventually lead to success. And that's what we're looking for. What are the paths? First of all, how do you develop that hope? And then once you get the hope, how do you say, okay, I've got the hope. I know I want to live a better life. I want to be a healthy person. I want to take care of my family, all those kinds of things. Then you got to say, okay, I believe I can do it. I can believe that's the faith. I believe I can do it. But then I have to say, okay, what do I need to do it?
Yeah.
You can't do any of it without all those steps.
I think mentorship is so important. I needed to find, and these were the rooms of recovery, really became an asset to me, Mike. There's in the background I come from, there's the fellowship, and then there's recovery. And one can't exist without the other, because at some point, fellowship is not going to be enough. And at some point, recovery would become too boring. It wouldn't fulfill the social need I have. And so I need to identify people who sound like I used to sound, but are doing things, that action, the way I wanted to do them. And then I just mimic them, Mike. I just fake it till I make it. I just do what they did to get what they've got. You know, the old Robert Pardon would say I want that, but I would do the contrary. You know, if insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, then sanity must be doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result. In the book I read of recovery, there's actually a chapter 6, called Into Action. And it talks about, now that you know what to do, now go do it.
You're hitting it right on the head. And that's what life is all about.
Yeah.
Not just recovery. All of life
Yeah.
has to follow those same steps, because those steps that you're talking about that are in your book and what's in a lot of the organizations that are out there in recovery are the steps of life.
Yeah.
Okay? They've just been put together a little bit so you can concentrate on the one thing that you're doing, but they are the total steps of life. And I know that the 12 steps will all come out of the Bible.
Yeah.
And the Bible's, if I'm a business guy, so I believe that's the best business manual there is in the world. It can't teach me mathematics, okay? I need the calculator for that. But it can teach you the steps of what you need to be successful
Yes.
in every portion of your life.
You know, gosh, you bring up something so profound in every portion, every aspect. And I've known some people who say, I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good father. I want to be a good employee. Well, why don't you get sober and practice the principles? Because if you become sober and recovered, you'll automatically be a better husband. You'll automatically be a better father, because there's a consistency with people like you and me and others who are well do, and we pursue wellness every single day. I take my own personal inventory every day. I find out how I can be a better version of me with all my interactions, and I'm accountable to people, Mike. I still say I'm sorry to my children, and I'm 71 years old. How can I be? And I've apologized to my grandchildren. I've apologized, and I say, how can I be better? How can I be what you need me to be, that's in alignment with who I want to be? There has to be alignment, like Stephen Covey talks about, being in alignment every day. We would never drive a car that's out of alignment. We would take it to a shop and say, something's wrong, because when I brake in unexpectedly, or when I let go of the steering wheel, it goes to the left, it goes to the right, it does something wrong, it wants to operate on its own. Get me back in alignment. And that's the way our life. We need to be in alignment. We can't be working against ourselves. As we previously stated in our open conversation, Gandhi said, you can't do wrong in one department of life while attempting to do right in another department. Life is one indivisible whole.
You're right. It's got to be the concentration of doing it all and doing it the same.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that takes time, and it's steps to get there.
Yes.
It doesn't always happen overnight. Rarely does. I can remember having a really good friend who was heavy into drinking and drugs and stuff. And he was going through some really rough times in his life. Thank God his wife decided that she's not going to leave him, because she knew that he was going to, one day it was going to get there, and she didn't want to leave him available to some other lady. She kept him.
She wanted to protect her investment.
And in his particular case, he was in the hospital, severe, and it happened. And that was the last drink and drug he took.
Wow.
With nothing else. But that's not the norm.
No.
It's steps.
Yeah.
It takes a while to get into your bad habits, and sometimes takes a while to step out of those bad habits.
Yeah.
And you were explaining to me that along the way, you increased additional bad habits.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just, it drove you to other parts of things that made it even more difficult to finally get to that time in your life where you said, that's enough is enough.
Yeah. Eventually, it's easy to fall into negative behavior and justify it along the way. Well, at least I'm not doing this. Well, at least I'm not doing that. And we had a conversation about overall wellness and recovery, and how I used to be morbidly obese. I used to weigh almost 400 pounds. Today I weigh 212 pounds. and I'm in some of the best shape of my life. And that crept up on me, Mike. That over 22 years sober, my food addiction came back to me. And boy, not only we talked about this before, we talked about a lot of things in a short window. It wasn't the quantity I was eating; it was the quality of. And boy, that's easy to masquerade itself. So honesty. In the four absolutes that I read and I hand out to others: honesty, unselfishness, love, and purity. And once again, those four elements have to be in alignment. So every day, and you talked about time. Time does what time does. And time can be our greatest friend or it can be our enemy. And how I use that time, what do I do in that time, determines the end of my day. You know, I can sit on the couch and be slothful and eat bonbons, or I can get out and mow my lawn or do something proactive that will promote the lifestyle I say that I want. Again, I need to be going in the same direction one day at a time. You know, today I am sober 14,320 days, which is an amazing time. But I remember being sober 10 days and 15 days, and I remember getting a 30-day chip and a 60-day chip. I remember those times. And how I got here, it's as amazing to me as it is to other people. But time is something that we can't control, but what we do in that time determines what the outcome of that time is.
I agree with you. I agree. And you had mentioned also the importance of mentorship
Yes.
and fellowship. There's a combination. Not everybody is a mentor.
Yes.
But you can have good fellowship too, because we all need to learn how to be responsible.
Yes.
And that's the key. And myself, based on the tradition, I'm not a sponsor, but I am a mentor.
Yes.
And that's what the organization, the Drug Court Foundation, really works on. We are mentors. We make ourselves available. The whole program was designed initially to help people that are in the drug court program and relieve some of the burdens that are on them so they can concentrate on their recovery. Simple things like that might seem simple to us, but not to everyone. You know, car repairs, getting their education, getting job training, lots of little different things that we can help with so they can work on getting that mindset that they need,
Yes.
developing that strong hope, which leads to that faith, which leads to them learning, what do I have to do to get it done? And so those kinds of things are real important. For me, I didn't come from the traditional world of addiction, though I was a 2-pack a day smoker. And quite honestly, nicotine is more difficult to give up than anything else because, first of all, it's legal. You're not going to get arrested for it. You know, the feelings aren't as high as getting high on drugs or alcohol. But I remember when I quit 6 times, and I relapsed those 6 times until I got to the 7th time, and I developed for myself the reason I needed to do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And that's 43 years ago was
Wow.
the last puff. But I also know today that it would not be smart for me to take the next puff.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself a nicotine addict. I wouldn't go to a nicotine meeting and say, hey, my name is Mike, I'm a nicotine addict. I might tell the story of my long-term recovery and what drove me to that. What were the things that I personally needed to get myself in the mindset to do what I needed to do? But that's where you go from there.
No, and I agree with you. I'll never forget. It'll be 32 years, November 17th. I quit smoking November 17th, 1993. And I remember standing in a Kmart parking lot in Victorville, California. And you bring up something interesting. When I stopped drinking and using drugs, it was because it was killing me. And I knew it. When I quit smoking, Mike, it was like saying goodbye to a friend. It was so difficult. It was good. But I had to become a non-smoker because being a smoker, and this is what I ask God, because a non-smoker doesn't think about smoking. But a person who just quit can't wait to get to that next cigarette. And I was going away on a marriage conference, and I knew that this camp I was going to didn't allow smoking. So I knew that if I was thinking about cigarettes, this was my mind, if I was thinking about a cigarette, I would be distracted on how to make my marriage better. And my marriage was more important than smoking. And so I did a mind shift. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to concentrate on. I want to be a great husband. This is because I was such a failure. So I turned my mind to that in replacement of the other, which was smoking. And Mike, I've never looked back. It's been a phenomenal journey, but that was all wellness. That was all saying no to that to say yes to this, because that's what we do.
Well, that's exactly what drove me to where it was. We were getting ready, and we knew we were going to have a family in the near
Yeah.
future, okay? I had the greatest father in the whole world, but he was a World War II vet. They all came back addicted to cigarettes. And he would sit there and say, don't do this. It's not good for you. But what did I see growing up? That's
Yeah.
what I saw. So, I became a smoker. And I decided, it's okay, if that's one of the things that drove me to smoking, when we have a child, I don't want that child to see that in me.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was the seventh time that I was able, because like you said, you wanted to make sure that conference brought you to that closeness in your marriage and all this other stuff. Well, this is what gave me what I needed to do to quit. So I understand a lot of the world that people are going through. I mean, when I quit those 6 times, that was relapse. Okay.
Yeah.
And I lied about it. And I realized how stupid that was later, because when you lie about quitting smoking and you're smoking, you stink. So everybody knows you're lying. But those are the things that we need. I know a lot of people need things. You knew that giving up the drinking was going to save your life. Okay.
Yes.
Even though we knew the cigarettes would probably kill us, that wasn't the reason we gave it up, was it?
No, you bring up this whole Pandora's box of a mindset, and it is a positive mindset that we have to develop. And it doesn't matter what's hindering you; it matters how it hinders you.
Right.
That's more important, because that's where we all come together in pursuit of wellness. So an alcoholic, an Al-Anon, a drug addict, a compulsive gambler, a person who's addicted to pornography, we all come together because it's those behaviors and those substances that are a hindrance to our wellness. So we can come together and say, okay, this is how I need to reshape my thinking and my action that's going to follow to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, because these things are keeping me from being the best possible version of me that I can possibly be. So every day, the quicker and the harder I push back at something or someone, I need to come closer and find out what is preventing me from thinking positively about that. Where does that hit my ego? Where is that a roadblock to my wellness? Because I guarantee you, Mike, it is a roadblock to my wellness. So the harder I push back at something, the more I need to look at it.
It's a great attitude. Never thought about it that way. But yeah, you're bringing a lot of things to the front that a lot of people need to listen to and look at themselves and say, okay, is what he's talking about, is what Robert's talking about holding me back from moving forward?
Yeah.
If it is, now you know that could be something you need to work on. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody. There is no common in those areas.
Yeah.
It's not common stuff, but it's there. So you have to look at what is it in your life
Yeah. Yeah.
that's bringing you to that point.
There's this thing called HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And when I find myself frustrated or upset or not fulfilled in my life, I look at one of those 4 things. Sometimes I have to chase a rabbit trail in them to find specifically what it is, but it's usually involving hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And tired can be physical, it can be mental exhaustion. Loneliness can be for a person, it can be something that's internal. Anger can be at a person, but it's really who I am not. And hungry can be just, again, what we talked about. I'm not eating the right things. I'm eating less, but I'm still cheating. I'm still having a cookie instead of having this, what's healthy for me. So I look at those four things: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And it is a universal rule of life that prevents me from getting well.
You're hitting on so many things that none of it in this discussion. Previously to you coming in today, we were a podcast was being recorded, and we're talking about healthy foods, how we've been taken in by the world, the marketing world, as far as the food industry goes, and what affects our bodies and how that affects different stuff, and how some of the manufacturers of food are actually working on keeping us addicted to those things that aren't good for us.
Yeah.
I always tell the story, and I'm not 100% sure I get all the names right, that if several years ago, when cigarettes were starting to slow down in sales, one of the big cigarette companies, I don't know if it was Phillips or whomever, bought Kraft food.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you how easy it is to get addicted to Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
And I know that they put other things in that. So the world is not out in general to help you and me and them. But we have to be, you've learned when you went through this thing with your dieting and stuff, the foods you had to change to get the good stuff, to keep yourself going. And that's what we have to do in life.
Yes.
We have to do, whether it's in the world of recovery or not. I will tell one thing that I've learned, and hopefully people will listen to it, because I know how difficult it is to give up the cigarettes.
Yes.
But scientifically, they've proven that if you can quit smoking, your long-term recovery increases by 25 to 50% because it triggers some of the same brain areas.
Yeah.
And when you get a trigger, the first thing you do is pick up a cigarette. Well, that cigarette can lead you to picking up something else.
Yes.
So there's so many things out there that can affect. And one of the things I told you out there, one of the problems I have with with pretty much the general world of recovery operations is that they're more Band-Aids.
Yes.
That if they don't dig into what caused, what pain were they trying to cover up, what was it, then you said it's not just about sobriety, is it?
No, it's not. If it was about sobriety, then everyone who stopped drinking would be well. And we know that's not true. Everyone who stopped engaging in a particular behavior, it takes knowing what to do to stay well. Getting well is easy. Staying well, that's the challenge, because to stay well means every single day I need to challenge myself to becoming more. I tell people all the time, my middle name is More. And I heard a person speak early on in recovery. He said, my middle name was More. It was used to be more alcohol, more drugs, more gambling, more everything that was destroying his life. And it was sort of stamped in his DNA that he wanted more. And so he said, I didn't have to change that DNA. I just had to change what the more is. And so, Mike, I've changed what the more is. And I am happy, I'm joyous, I'm free. Not all the time, because I'm just a guy, right? I have my down times, I have my frailties, I have my weaknesses, but I strive to overcome them on a regular basis because, Stephen Covey says, you climb the ladder of life, but you realize you're leaning against the wrong wall. And I have made sure that when I climb that ladder, I make sure I'm against the right wall. And I make sure that as I climb, I'm comfortable. If I'm honest and comfortable, I'm okay. If I'm honest and uncomfortable, maybe I need to move my ladder to a wall that would really make a difference. Because the other person, the other place, the other thing doesn't make my feel good. It's why I'm there. It's about motives for what you're doing, not what you're doing.
Excellent. Now, we're getting close to the ending part here. We've got a few more minutes left. I want you also to tell our audience a little bit more about what you do. I understand you do a lot of podcasting.
I do.
And what your goals in life and how you're working, that kind of stuff. What are you doing?
Well, can I do a shameless plug?
Sure.
Okay. So you can find me on recoveryguy.org, recoveryguy.org. I have Recovery Guy podcast on Spotify, on iTunes, Podbean. You can find me on YouTube at Real Recovery Guy. Instagram recovery_guy. I'm very active on social media. And I like, Mike, you and I are in such great alignment because we like to talk about what, okay, you've set that aside regardless of what is. Now let's talk about what you're doing to stay well. What are you doing to become a better person, to be becoming a better version? So that's what I'm all about. Obviously, for a person like me, stopping drinking was major. But Mike, going back to what you previously said, I have to begin looking at all the things in my life that are preventing me from being well. So when I figure out, well, I'm uncomfortable here, I'm uncomfortable there, I need to be willing to change those things and put into action the things that are going to make me feel better. Because once again, the Gandhi quote, you can't do right in one department of life while attempting to do wrong in another department. Life is one indivisible whole. And there's a biblical, whether you believe it or not, there's a biblical passage that says, think first with the end in mind. So I have to, when I eat improperly, I need to remember the last time I ate that, how did it make me feel 2 days later?
Exactly.
And I think about that and I walk that process through. And Mike, invariably, I don't eat that. I'm a grandfather. I have 10 grandchildren. I've lived long enough to have 10 grandchildren. And I have ice cream in my freezer. And that ice cream stays untouched until the grandkids come over. I just don't eat it because I know in 2 days what that ice cream will do to me. And I think that process through before I engage in anything that's new or uncomfortable to me. And I try to live my life with a particular philosophy that makes me the best possible. Because, Mike, I've been around 39 years, and the friend who introduced us, they rely on me. I'm their mentor. I'm their example of what they can become, even greater than what I've become, if they're willing to do what I have done. And I have done what 100 men and women have done. So I didn't invent this. I just follow the path and follow the rules.
And we're grateful for what you do because, like I said, I know the person we're talking about. And if you can help those people that we're out helping to begin with too, we love to have you on our team. We're glad that you're able to be there. And I'm really happy that we got introduced and we were able to have this conversation today. And I think we'll probably have a couple more going forward.
I would like that.
And we'll go from there. We go out, you were talking about all the different venues that you hit. We hit so many of them that I don't know the name of them, but we're our biggest, our true analytics. Okay, it's hard to get analytics from any of those places.
Yeah.
Our true analytics only come from our Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Because they are legit. They tell us how many every 28 days we've had total viewers. They break it down based on male and female. They give you ages, different ages, so you can see, and where they're from. Okay, whether they're all from Flagler or they're from Tokyo, it doesn't matter. We'll see those things there, and we know we're getting out to a lot of places. We're trying to learn how to get a variety of our podcasts out to more places, like this one. I needed to get it out to more. So if we can help, if you can help us by telling people to check us out, you got your advertising here. That's really the key, because the one word that I haven't used yet today, but I'm going to use it right now, is we want to reduce the stigma.
Yes.
The stigma of addiction. That's what the population, the general population, thinks about people, is a big thing that keeps people in the addiction.
Yes.
We all know if you're told time and time again, you'll do nothing, you'll amount to nothing, you'll dip up, eventually that's what you are. We need to turn that around, because no one started an addiction, like I said, that decided they wanted to be an addiction. Almost entirely is to cover up something, some kind of pain, some type of internal thing. Some of it could have been medical. They didn't take you off the medication. There's a whole lot. But no one starts off, when you take that first drink, no one starts off and say, oh, I can't wait until I can't. I have to have at least a bottle or two a day,
Yeah.
type of thing. And no one says, I want to shoot up every day.
Yeah.
It's just, that's not what it's about. And we got to get the general population to have that understanding so they can be part of the solution, not the problem. And they don't have to be very active to be part of the solution. They just have to stop their negativity
Yes.
that's out there. So when they come across that kind of stuff, our group has a grant to give free Narcan away.
Mm-hmm.
We were the first in the county nonprofit to get that. And it's been quite an educational process to the community out there, because some of the people will come by and say, just let them die. Then if you can get them to stop and listen and have that conversation, more often than not, they'll start to have a better understanding and that attitude will change. But all they've been hearing is that everybody that's out there drinking, drugging, okay, they're just a bunch of crooks. They're just a bunch of trouble looking for a place to happen. No, they're just a bunch of people hoping that something else will happen to change their life around, and they can stop. I've met people that in the particular time of their addiction that they're not ready.
Yeah.
At least they don't think they are. Our theory is if they're dead, they can't recover. So we're going to do everything to keep them going until they get to that point in their life where the light goes off and they say, enough is enough. What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And that's where we go from there. So,
I just want to add one thing, Mike, because you brought up stigma. It's how we view ourselves.
yep.
And I often tell people, we're not bad people trying to get better. We're sick people trying to get well. And the minute that flipped for me, I did a lot of bad things, but it wasn't because I was bad. It was because I was really sick and I didn't have a way out.
Yep.
Once I found out I had a way out, I pursued that way and I never turned back.
Yeah. I'll never forget hearing a pastor, it was on TV, in a very large church, talking to his church about, because obviously he knew there was a lot of addiction going on, and telling their parents, listen, when your son or daughter is stealing from you because of their addiction, that's not your son or daughter.
Yeah.
That's the addiction.
Yeah.
Okay? And we have to learn to understand so we can help and encourage. Okay? We have to be careful how we do it.
Yes.
Okay? Okay? We don't want to be the enablers.
Yes.
But love is not necessarily the key to enabling. It's the key to success.
Yeah.
If you're doing things because you think you love them, and that can be detrimental. So if your family's out there, they need to get some guidance and help. And you have things like Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, Celebrate Recovery. All those will help families to have a better understanding so they can be better at helping but not enabling.
Yes.
And it's so important. Well, I got to draw this to a close today. I'm so happy to have you with us today, Robert. And going forward, we'll look forward to having you come back again. And we'll go from there. So everybody, Mike Feldbauer from the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation saying thanks for being with us. Come on back and see us again.